Talk about oil pipelines later on tonight. Our next question comes from our website. Do you support Common Core curriculum in public education? Should the federal government regulate it? Jack Seaman, you go first on this question.
This is a big topic in North Dakota right now, and I want to be clear on one point. I do not support Common Core one bit. What it seems like to me is federally mandated, top-down, one-size-fits-all education standards that are being handed down to the states through bribes of money to be installed into our schools with little or no local control. And I'm not a big fan of Common Core. I don't support Common Core, and I would fight against Common Core if given the chance. Mr.
Seaman, thank you. Kevin Cramer.
Well, I'm very pleased to say that the House of Representatives actually passed a bill called the Student Success Act. It is the K through 12 education bill that replaces No Child Left Behind. And in that bill, we state emphatically that no federal money shall be spent to carry out the testing of Common Core. Rather, what we did is returned the authority for testing standards as well as teachers' standards in education where it belongs in the Constitution of the United States, and that is to the local school districts and the states. They're best equipped to set the standards. The local school districts are best equipped to deal with their local population and their area. Now, that said, I think it's important that our universities and colleges in the respective states set some standards for admission into their institutions of higher education that are consistent with high standards. We still want to be the best, but we've been sliding as a country. No question our competitive advantage is being lost to some degree. A lot more needs to be done, but a federal solution is not the solution.
George Sinner.
Well, I believe that this is really not a federal solution. All of the states have the option of taking this on the Common Core and accepting the standards. And that said, there are several states that are not accepting or rolling back their approval of the Common Core. Now, let's look at what this Common Core really looks at and what it does. All of the stakeholders in education all want the best education for our kids. I've heard from people across the state, including the superintendent of public instruction and many teachers, that they like what this Common Core does. But I'll say this, I am not convinced. I've heard many people on the other side who do not know what these standards really amount to and have serious questions. And I'm open to hearing their concerns and hearing the specifics of what Common Core does and how it hurts the students of North Dakota.
The rebuttal is Jack Seaman's.
Well, I'd just like to point out that, you know, at the opening of the debate, I mentioned taking power away from the federal government and giving it back to individuals in the states. And this is what this issue seems to be all about to me. I think the best education of our children starts at home. It starts with mom and dad, sisters, brothers, families getting together. It goes from there into the neighborhood or into the church or into the community, into the school district. That's where we should have the localized control that helps set up the standards and curriculum to best educate our kids, because there are kids right here in North Dakota. They're not some fictional kids that Washington thinks that they can put an education standard system to.
Still to come on our debate tonight, questions on abortion and sex trafficking. We'll be right back.
What? I can't hear you. If those are the first words you say when you answer the phone, iPat can help. iPat can reconnect you with those you love at no cost through specialized phones. For hearing loss, try an amplified phone or one with captions. Vision issues? Large backlit talking number pads can help. Dialing difficulties? Try picture buttons. So let iPat help. Call iPat at 1-800-895-4728 or visit ndipat.org today.
Why rely on WDAY? WDAY 6 News has over 60 years of experience bringing the news, weather, and sports that's important to the area. While WDAY is located in North Dakota, we're proud to say that we cover important stories for the entire region. From lakes coverage in the Minnesota legislature to reporting on Devil's Lake flooding and the oil boom, WDAY 6 News brings the most important issues facing our region to the community debate, while having the best weather and local sports coverage in the region. Watch WDAY 6 News everywhere in the Valley and beyond.
Welcome back to the debate. For a spot in the U.S. House of Representatives, Kevin Cramer, George Sinner, and Jack Seaman. Gentlemen, what is your position on abortion in the U.S.? Should the federal government set regulations, or should it be decided at the state level? Kevin Cramer, you're up first.
Sure. Well, first of all, then I'm pro-life. I've always been pro-life. I'm consistently pro-life, and I've supported the pro-life legislation in the House of Representatives. And with regard to who should regulate it, the states ought to regulate it. That was the way it was before Roe versus Wade in the Supreme Court. That's the way I think that it ought to remain. And I think that the state of North Dakota, and every state for that matter, knows its culture. The people that are, again, closest to the people are the state legislators and the governors of the respective states. That's where I think the Constitution of the United States has placed this authority, and while the Supreme Court obviously several decades ago doesn't agree, I believe that's where it belongs. One of the things I have to say is that the longer this issue has been with us, the more pro-life I become, and largely because science continues to demonstrate the viability of a baby at a much younger age. I have a daughter, a young daughter that's pregnant, not even 3 months, and I've seen a picture of my next grandchild, and I'm quite adamant about the fact that life begins at conception.
Mr. Sinner, your turn.
I believe that this is a very complicated and difficult issue for many families. And let me give you an example. My friend Brenda had to have 2 pregnancies terminated to save her life on the advice of her doctor. After that, she went on to adopt 2 children and give birth to another child. As I said before, these questions and these issues are very complicated. I believe that these questions should remain with the mother, the family, the doctor, and their faith. And I think the government should stay out of these decisions. Thank you.
Jack Seaman.
My position on abortion is that I'm pro-life, except in circumstances of sexual assault or the mother's imminent death due to complications from pregnancy. I also believe that the federal government should be nowhere near this issue. It should be a state issue, and we can leave it up to the people of the state to work within our own state and decide how we want to best go forward with this issue, but that's where I stand on abortion.
Kevin Cramer, the rebuttal.
I think you'd be hard-pressed to improve on the thoughtful answers of the 3 of us. I'll pass.
Mr. Cramer, thank you.